What's up, Planeswalkers? This is my fifth and final video of the 2020 Commander Ikoria set stuff. This is Kalamax the Stormsire and Arcane Maelstrom. That's a 4/4 elemental dinosaur. Whenever you cast your first instant spell each turn, if Kalamax the Stormsire is tapped, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Whenever you copy an instant spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Kalamax. I assume that means that they want you to turn him sideways and swing at people. And then he gets bigger. And then you cast spells and you copy it. And then he gets bigger. And then you cast spells and he copies it. And then he gets bigger. And then the next turn, when it finally comes back around to you, you swing some more. So, let's dig into this and see what it is that we got. So, we already talked about Kalamax. We've got Xyrus, the Writhing Storm. He's a 3/5 flyer, legendary creature Snake Leviathan. Whenever an opponent draws a card, except the first one they drew in each of their draw steps, create a 1/1 green snake creature token. Whenever Xyrus, the Writhing Storm, deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each draw that many cards. Okay, neat. That kind of feels a little politic-y. I'd like to draw some cards. Would you like to take 3 damage? Ah, excellent. I'm glad that you like to take damage. Here, have some damage. This is our partners. We got partner with Paco, Arcane Retriever. I assume it's some sort of doggy. Maybe even an elemental dog. We'll see. You may play non-creature cards from exile with fetch counters on them if you exiled them. And you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. So if I'm the one that exiled it with a fetch counter, I can cast it. If somebody else exiled it and it had a fetch counter, it doesn't count. Maybe it's other people's permanents that have fetch counters. Don't know. Elemental Hound. I was good. Look at that. It wasn't a dog. It was a hound, but I like it. He has haste, 3/3. Whenever Paco, Arcane Retriever attacks, exile the top card of each player's library and put a fetch counter on each of them. Put a +1/+1 counter on Paco for each non-creature card exiled this way. Oh, neat. So he has to be in play to be able to do the fetching. But yeah. Our tokens, there should be 10. Command Tower, Frontier Bivouac, Gruul Turf, Halimar Depths is Boiler Works. Tap to tap, 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 tappy lands from Tap Town, Tap SA. Okay. Decoy Gambit. For each opponent, choose up to 1 target creature that player controls, then return that creature to its owner's hand unless its controller has you draw a card. So you could draw up to 3 cards or return some stuff to people's hands. Eon Frolicker is an otter. I love the otter. It's super cute. It's so big. Those are birds. Anyway. It's a 5/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, target opponent takes an extra turn after this one. Until your next turn, you and planeswalkers you control gain protection from that player. That is super politic. When Nascent Metamorph attacks or blocks, target opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. Nascent Metamorph becomes a copy of that card until end of turn. Then that player puts all cards revealed this way on the bottom of their library in a random order. Deflecting Swat. If you control a commander, you may cast the spell without paying its mana cost. You may choose new targets for spell or ability. Lavabrink Floodgates. Tap to add 2 red. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player may put a Doom counter on Lavabrink Floodgates or remove a Doom counter from it. Then if it has 3 or more Doom counters on it, sacrifice Lavabrink Floodgates. When you do, it deals 6 damage to each creature. Wasn't that in, one of the ones I talked about earlier, like Enhanced Evolution or Timeless Wisdom or something? That seems familiar to me. Curious Herd. Choose target opponent. You create X 3/3 green beast creature tokens, where X is the number of artifacts that player controls. Glade Muse. 2/4 beast. Whenever a player casts a spell, if it's not their turn, that player draws a card. Neat. In a deck that's built around kind of instant-y spells, which apparently Kalamax the Stormsire says we should be. I mean, we don't have a ton of instant spells, but maybe we'll have some later on. 3/3 Devour 3. When you sacrifice a thing, they get 3 +1/+1 counters. When Ravenous Gigantotherium enters the battlefield, it deals X damage divided as you choose among up to X target creatures, where X is its power. Each of those creatures deals damage equal to its power to Ravenous Gigantotherium. Twinning Staff. If you would copy a spell one or more times, instead copy it that many times plus an additional time. You may choose new targets for the additional copy. And you can tap 7 and Twinning Staff. Copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. So basically tap 7 and you copy it twice. Jace, Architect of Thought. This is the Planeswalker for this deck, apparently. Until your next turn, whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, it gets -1/-0 until end of turn. So that's any and all creatures. -2, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put one pile into your hand, the other on the bottom of your library in any order. So everybody sees it, one opponent separates them, and off you go. For each player, search that player's library for a non-land card and exile it. Then that player shuffles their library. You may cast those cards without paying their mana costs. We have a Lunar Mystic, a human wizard. Whenever you cast an instant spell, you can pay 1. If you do, draw a card. Niblis of Frost, that's a reprint. Flying Prowess. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, tap target creature an opponent controls. It doesn't untap during that controller's next untap step. Swarm Intelligence, I believe that's from Hour of Devastation, because that's the Locust God, I think, because they're locusts. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Talran Sky Summoner. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token. Chaos Warp. That makes sense in this kind of deck. Copy it a bunch of times. Charmbreaker Devils. At the beginning of your upkeep, return an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Charmbreaker Devils gets +4/+0 until end of turn. Now, that sadly does not count the copies. The copies are not cast, they are copies. Comet Storm, Multi-Kicker 1. Choose any target, then choose another target for each time this spell was kicked. Comet Storm deals X damage to each of them. Commune with Lava. Exile the top X cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Dualcaster Mage. That's a reprint. When Dualcaster Mage enters the battlefield, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Oh yeah, there's my boy, Etali Primal Storm. Whenever he attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. Goblin Dark Dwellers reprint for 4/4 Menace. When it enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its cost, and then exile it. Starstorm deals X damage to each creature, cycling 3. That's neat. Strength of the Tajuru. Multi-Kicker 1. Choose target creature, then choose another creature for each time the spell was kicked. Put X +1/+1 counters on each of them. Artifact Mutation. Destroy target artifact. It can't be regenerated. Create X 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens, where X is that artifact's converted mana cost. Jin Illuminatus. 3/5 flyer. Each instant and sorcery spell you cast has Replicate. The Replicate cost is equal to its mana cost. So what that means, when you cast it, copy it for each time you paid its Replicate cost. You may choose new targets for the copies. Basically, you can say, I cast it 6 times, because I have the mana to cast it 6 times. Melek, is it Paragon? Or Melek? Doesn't matter. He's a weird wizard. Because weird is the name of the species. And he's a wizard, so he's a weird wizard. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast instant and sorcery spells from the top of your library. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your library, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Prophetic Bolt. Prophetic Bolt deals 4 damage to any target. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of those cards into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Rashmi, Eternity's Crafter. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, reveal the top card of your library, if it's non-land, with converted mana cost less than that spell's, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If you don't cast it, put it in your hand. Wart the Raid Weather, that seems kind of interesting. Oh, that's in here to make the instants and sorceries with Conspire. That's neat. Comes in, creates some goblins. Each red or green instant or sorcery spell you cast has Conspire. So you can tap creatures to pay for it instead of mana. When Solemn Simulacrum, oh, he has a new art. Enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. When he dies, you can draw a card. Good land, okay land, good land, good land, good fixer land. That's like a signet, but, you know, a land. Mossfort Bridge is pretty decent. Oran Reef's alright. Scavenger Grounds is eh. Yavimaya Coast is pretty okay. Mountains. Got our Bonder's Ornament, our Arcane Signet, Commander's Sphere, Lightning Greaves. Nice. Sol Ring. Clash of Titans. That's from the other set. Basically, it's a removal. Target creature fights. Channeled Force. Primal Empathy. Psychic Impetus. Shiny Impetus. Predatory Impetus. Chemist's Insight for drawing cards. Frantic Search for drawing cards. Murmuring Mystic to make birds when you instant or sorcery. Whiplash Trap. If an opponent had 2 or more creatures enter the battlefield under their control this turn, you may pay 1 blue rather than pay it. Return 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Surreal Memoir. Returning instant cards from your hand, and it rebounds the next turn. Crop Rotation to get lands onto the battlefield. Fixing the mana and such. Evolution, probably for land search, but you can get creatures back if you want. Harrow, sacrifice a land and then find 2 lands. Hunter's Insight, choose target creature you control. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw that many cards. Hunting Pack, make a beast with Storm, so you get lots of beasts. Search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, slice in twain, destroy artifacts or enchantments, and draw a card. Tribute to the Wild, each opponent sacrifices an artifact or enchantment. Wilderness Reclamation, untap your lands. Crackling Drake, because obviously, if you're going to play a Spellslinger deck. Growth Spiral to go find lands. Teamer Charm to go and counter spells that you don't want. Or get in with, you know, whatever against a Weenie deck. And that's it. I think it's a pretty okay deck based on what I know about Commander so far. It kind of fits together. I'm not so sure about the ratio of spells to creatures. I'd have to lay that all out and count them out and do the math and all that good stuff. But overall, it seems pretty okay. I think I've got my order now of the order that I like the various sets in. So I've got, put you in there, put you on top. I think my order of preference for right now is as follows, from left to right. Number 1, Timeless Wisdom. Number 2, Ruthless Regiment. They're real close. Then Arcane Maelstrom. Then Symbiotic Swarm. Then Enhanced Evolution. I mean, they all seem kind of good, kind of fun, but Enhanced Evolution seems very, very... Any disruption is really going to screw with this. Symbiotic Swarm is alright. It seems fun. Arcane Maelstrom seems like a lot of fun. Ruthless Regiment seems like a lot of fun. And Timeless Wisdom seems like the best fun. So that's my order for right now. Top to bottom. Best to not best. We will see what I think after I've played with them for a little while. And then after I've played with them for a little while, I'm going to do the upgrade thing. Because I touch nothing until I've played with them. Because honestly, you really can't tell 100% how a deck's going to play out if you don't try it first. So, as always, like, subscribe, bell notification, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next video.